Hey everybody, it's Rabbit. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be breaking down the new nation research bonus being added to the game of War Thunder. Now, when this bonus was first announced, I foolishly made the statement that I didn't think it would be worth making a full video on it, and I was completely wrong and apparently an idiot because I didn't anticipate that the developers would make this more complicated than it really needed to be. Now, a few small disclaimers I want to get out of the way first. First and foremost, this was effectively done during the testing period. However, as far as I'm aware, they were simply testing it on a technical side and not actually accepting any real feedback on the nature of the system. So as far as I can tell, this will likely be implemented as you see it here with only very minor changes. Of course, this is War Thunder and everything is constantly changing, but at least the initial version should be very similar to what we see here. The other small disclaimer is that obviously this kind of thing is somewhat difficult to test without starting a brand new account and climbing all the way up to multiple tech trees from scratch, which honestly, if I could do that in the time frame of this test, you probably wouldn't even need this new nation research bonus anyway. With that being said, I did try to test as much of it as possible and check on a few things that I was personally curious about, and also get at least a somewhat reasonable idea of about how much real research increase you could expect from these bonuses. And this did actually take a while because it turns out I only have so many tech trees that are in a position where they can use this to the degree that I needed to, so this actually took several days to complete, and I would certainly appreciate a like and subscribe if you appreciate my effort. Now, in order to get the new nation research bonus active, you need to get a top vehicle in a tech tree, and Gaijin helpfully issued the 4 criteria that they use to determine what a top vehicle is. Number 1, the vehicle must be in the research tree proper. It cannot be a hidden vehicle, an event vehicle, premium vehicle, squadron vehicle, etc., etc. Essentially a vehicle that is in the mainline tech tree. Number 2, the vehicle must be last in the line of its research tree. If it is last in the line in a group, the first vehicle in the group is considered the top vehicle, so essentially the foldered vehicle would not be considered the top vehicle. Number 3, a vehicle where the maximum battle rating of the vehicle among all models is no more than 2 steps lower than the maximum battle rating of the vehicles in this research tree, so it can't be too low in BR either. And number 4, the vehicle must also be located at the maximum rank in the tech tree. Now, if you're thinking, how am I supposed to remember all that stuff? Don't worry about it, you likely won't need to, because in the test anyway, they had arrows on the bottom of the vehicles that were considered top vehicles, pointing towards the little thing explaining what having a top vehicle does. And from what I was able to tell by doing my own testing, these arrows do appear to be accurate in that these vehicles are in fact determined to be top vehicles, so you don't necessarily have to remember it, just look for the arrows. Now, once you have one of those top vehicles in a tech tree, for every other nation you will now get a research bonus for that specific tech tree. So for example, if you had a top vehicle in USA Air, you would now get a research bonus for every other nation's air tree. The research bonus specifically applies to the first 3 games you play per nation per tree that you have a top vehicle in per day. So using the previous example, getting a top vehicle in the USA Air tree would then give you 3 missions per day that you could get a bonus for the other 9 nations. Now, obviously one of the questions that a lot of players will be asking is what exactly is the percentage bonus I will be receiving, and the developers helpfully provided this table of the bonuses for various trees. Note there is some difference, especially when you start getting into the smaller trees like Coastal and Blue Water. However, ranks 1, 2, and 3 across the board do not get a bonus. Rank 4 helicopters doesn't get a bonus because there are no rank 4 helicopters, and rank 6 helicopters do get a 90% bonus, whereas it's only a 75% for Army and Aviation. Of course, when looking at the table of research bonuses, it's important to realize these bonuses don't stack after the fact on top of everything, so the 100% bonus won't literally double the amount of RP you get. So I wanted to check a few different tech trees at a few different tiers to see the actual felt RP difference, i.e. how much you will notice your RP going up for the different tiers. For rank 4 in both ground and air, I noticed about a 6% increase. For rank 5, I noticed about a 12% increase. For rank 6, I noticed about a 19% increase. And at rank 7 and 8, I noticed about a 24% increase. I also did some testing with boosters, and the RP bonus you get for the new nation bonus appears to stack at basically the same time as you get a booster. So for example, when I was doing rank 5 and I was normally noticing the 12% bonus, I was now noticing a 22% bonus when I activated a 10% booster. booster, so it does appear to stack in a pretty linear fashion with various boosters. Now for a few other observations, I did notice that when you were using the ground vehicles to research helicopters, the nation would use the booster from the helicopter, not from the ground forces, so it appears to use the booster from what you're researching, not what you're researching with. Additionally, I also did some testing in ground games and found that if you were to take out a tank, a plane, and a helicopter, you would essentially burn a game for a tank, a plane, and a helicopter all in one match, as it would essentially apply the bonus for all three at the same time. Because of this, I would highly recommend that if you are simultaneously grinding both an air tree and a ground tree, that you should probably get in your 3 air games first so that you can take your aircraft into ground games without having to worry about burning one of your once per day boosts on a game that wouldn't necessarily give you all that much RP. Additionally, I also noticed that while it displayed the rank 1, 2, or 3 vehicle if you had one selected as being what you were researching for the bonus, it wouldn't actually apply the bonus until you actually started researching a rank 4 vehicle, so you don't have to worry about accidentally using the boost for a 0% bonus, which it technically does qualify as. There is one feature I haven't talked about until now, and it actually is very important for the system, and that is, as soon as you get a top vehicle in a nation, you will immediately lose the new nation tech tree bonus for that entire nation's tech tree. So for example, as soon as you successfully research an F-15C for the United States air tree, you would immediately lose the new nation bonus for the entire US air tree, even if you were still very low in rank in a lot of the other lines. So with all of that out of the way, let's start looking at the extreme best case scenario, the absolute most RP you could get out of this system. So if you had a nation with all 5 tech trees and you had a top vehicle in all 5 of those tech trees, you would now get a bonus for 3 games for each of the 5 tech trees for every other nation that has them. So assuming you have at least a rank 4 vehicle in all of the other tech trees that are available, you would essentially have 39 different tech trees, each with 3 games apiece for over 100 games worth of boosted playtime, which is obviously a lot. That scenario is kind of off the wall because it assumes that you're basically diversifying across all game modes and all tech trees. However, I don't think it's particularly unreasonable for a fairly average player who already has top tier in one nation to have at least 2 other different nations with at least 1 or 2 tech trees apiece that they are working on. So the average player can probably easily get around 6 to 12 bonus games per night, which isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Additionally, while the bonuses for rank 4 are pretty weak at only about 6%, the 24% or so bonus you would get at around rank 7 or 8 is actually pretty solid and is basically the equivalent of getting an entire extra game in, so that is pretty nice. So this is the part where I'm going to start opining on some of the theoretical benefits and drawbacks of the system, and one of the biggest benefits that I see is that it encourages the diversification of tech trees and game modes, because obviously the more tech trees and game modes that you're invested in, the more the bonuses you can get. So if you are interested in optimizing your research economy, you do want at least some level of diversification, and players not playing the same nations and the same vehicles over and over again is usually pretty healthy for a game. In World of Tanks, for example, I actually like the system where they give you first win bonuses for each vehicle in your garage. However, for that game, given how slow the researching is, the first game wins and the daily boost all feel more necessary than optional. One of the core points of confusion for me is why it's called a new nation bonus when you don't actually get the bonus for ranks 1 to 3, because obviously ranks 1 to 3 are the nations that you are starting new on, and also if you have veteran players that have already reached top tier in one tech tree and are probably level 100 in a lot of instances, you kind of want them to be at low tiers for as little time as possible, so even a relatively modest boost, such as extending the rank 4 boost all the way down to rank 1, would get them out of there a little bit faster, so you're not doing as much seal clubbing. So on the whole, I do think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. I would actually extend that all the way down to the lower tiers, but that's just my opinion on the subject. The fact that you immediately lose the bonus as soon as you have a top vehicle also feels excessively gamey, because it essentially encourages you to never have a top tier vehicle and always stay one below top tier, or keep the top tier vehicles with some amount of research but never actually complete them. That way you're always ready to just finish them off when a new quote-unquote top vehicle is added. Given how many people treat the top vehicle in the game as a goal, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for the game to turn around and punish you for getting that top vehicle. I think a good compromise, if the developers wanted to not give people who already had a top vehicle in a tech tree the new nation bonus, would be to simply add the new nation bonus to any brand new vehicles added to that tech tree, so as long as the vehicle was new, you could research it more efficiently, and that could at least be a nice consolation prize for reaching the top of the tree. One thing that I didn't realize when they initially said it would be 3 games, I thought it would be 3 games total and then it would immediately be over. However, it's not 3 games total, it's 3 games per tech tree of a specific type of each nation, and that in my opinion is actually pretty solid. While the lower tier benefits aren't that big, you don't usually need them for the lower tiers anyway, because the lower tiers you can blaze through pretty quickly if you are an experienced player, whereas once you start getting to like rank 6, 7, and 8, the researching starts to slow down a lot, so those top tier bonuses can really help out, especially for individuals that don't have a ton of time per day to devote to the game. So if those individuals get one top tier vehicle, now their handful of games per night are going to be a lot more meaningful. In this respect, the system did both encourage me to diversify the types of nations I was playing, diversify the tech trees, and also felt like it was genuinely rewarding me for doing so. On top of that, the bonuses are effectively free. Well, free insofar as anything in War Thunder is free, but you don't actually have to do anything to use them. You don't have to have a premium account or anything like that. It's just available to anybody as long as they have a top vehicle, so there's no real downside to it. It's just a question of, do you as a player think it is good enough? Personally, I think the system will be positive for the game, but obviously I always want to hear from you guys, so please let me know down in the comments below what exactly you think about the new nascent research bonus. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. As always, danke bitte, tschüss.